Hi everybody, it's Thursday, August 14th, 2008. Thanks for stopping by. I've been watching a lot of debates on YouTube and having debates myself about the Israeli-Palestine conflict. There's a common thread that keeps popping up in every debate that I watch. One side almost always calmly and dispassionately speaks about the history of the conflict and talks about basic human rights, civil liberties, and tolerance. The other side almost always talks about things that never really happened or exaggerates things that did happen in order to demonize a particular group of people. They interrupt, they shout down, they display irritation and anger, make all sorts of personal attacks on the character of their opponents, and use every rhetorical trick in the book to confuse the issue and shut down the debate. Frequently, they even accuse their opponents of being racist simply for having the temerity to debate them at all. Can you guess which side is which? Would it surprise you to learn that the ones advocating human rights are the ones who argue against Israel, and the ones who slander and throw accusations of racism are the ones defending Israel? If you don't believe me, watch some debates featuring Norman Finkelstein or Alan Dershowitz or Noam Chomsky. You'll see that the statement that everyone deserves to be treated equally is met by the rebuttal that Arabs attacked Jews in 1936, or that the Zionists didn't want the Palestinians to leave, but the Palestinians left their homes and marched into refugee camps anyway because they were evil and wanted to destroy the Jews. Most of the arguments that people give me for Israel are more accurately the apologies for war crimes, violations of international law, and overt racism are either exercises in finger-pointing or sheer lunacy. There are a few things that the apologists for Israel seem to have in common. They don't believe that Israel has ever done anything wrong. They seem to believe wholeheartedly in the national myth of Israel as a victim state, and most disturbingly, they seem to have the extreme distrust, dislike, and disregard for Arabs and Muslims of all kinds. Some of them will readily admit to you that they are racist against Arabs, but most of them do not consider themselves to be racist. Even though they ascribe several negative characteristics to all Arabs and Muslims, they'll tell you, "I'm not a racist, but all Arabs are evil, violent savages that don't value life. And you're a racist for not hating them enough to support Israel in whatever it does to them." Well, not in so many words, but that's the basic message. Why do people engage in such ridiculous arguments? I don't think these people are stupid, but many of them have been indoctrinated all their lives to fear and distrust Arabs and have internalized a national myth that was created to inspire patriotic fervor and unconditional support for the political regime that is in power in Israel today. The same sort of national myth that had people in America believing that Native Americans were evil savages constantly attacking innocent white settlers, at least until they actually thought about what happened for a while. This national myth seems absolutely essential to them because they know that it is the only way to justify the current inequality. And without that inequality, there can be no Jewish state, and they'll be vulnerable to the political power and possibly the wrath of the majority of the people who live in historical Palestine, who happen to be Palestinian. Like the white South Africans and the Protestant Northern Irish before them, the Israeli citizens are motivated not just by their wealth and privileges, which not many people can give up easily, but also by a deep existential fear that admitting the crimes of the past means sacrificing their future, their families, their lives, their people. That is why, in my opinion, they reflexively accuse outsiders of racism and Jews of self-hatred simply for criticizing a regime that is more overtly militaristic than Germany under Bismarck and routinely violates the rights of half the people under its control. The important thing for people to remember is that Opposing the system of apartheid and racial privilege which is destroying the lives of Palestinians does not necessitate and should include advocating violence or discrimination against Jews. People need to remember that the death of the apartheid state did not result in the death or the expulsion of the white South Africans. They need to understand that justice and equality is not dangerous to the interests of Jewish people in Palestine. In fact, it might be the only way that Israel can ever be secure, peaceful, and prosperous. Imagine if all the money spent on partition walls and tanks and aircraft was instead spent on building things like highways and institutions. Imagine if Jews and Palestinians could live in any part of Israel or Palestine without violating international law and without bullets or shrapnel flying through the windows of their children's bedrooms. Israel might not always enjoy the massive financial and military support of the United States. We only do it when it's profitable for us. It might not always have the ability to whip up the enthusiasm among its population for this endless dehumanizing conflict. Over 800,000 Israelis have already fled this dangerous and unstable refuge for the true safety of America, and this immigration is likely to continue. They would be wise to learn from the example of South Africa and negotiate a true and just peace now, while they are still powerful enough to make peace on their own terms. Thanks for watching.